Well, welcome back to a Ascension, my own personal 5-year journey. Um, as I'm telling my entire story of the 5 years that I've gone through my ascension from April 2020 to April of 2025, exactly 5 years. So when I left off, I was talking about the best friend that I thought I had of 20 years. But that saying comes into play even more so when you're on this journey, that people come into your life for a season, a reason, whatever it may be. Um, and that really holds true during your journey because people are going to enter your life for a certain period of time to play a small part so that you can get to the next place that you're supposed to be. Um, it was now time for me to release everyone that had previously been in my life. So family members, friends, associates, anyone who had been in my life from the time I was young, I was releasing. And as I've said in many videos before, you're living two lives within one lifetime. Okay. So I was now finishing up my first life. And in order for me to get into my second life, which I am now in, um, I needed to put to rest all of those relationships that were of the past, all situations, all any attachments to people, situations, places, um, even the place that I was born and raised in. I had to let that go. And I'll talk about that more in my story. Um, I haven't got to talk a lot about this family member who I'm calling Stacy. As I said, you'll probably figure out who this person is in my life. Was I do not desire to have any contact with this person, only because of how I was treated later on, as I'll go into. And it was really, really bad. Um, this person I had done so much for. Um, I had she had children, and I had given money, resources, purchased clothes, purchased strollers, purchased cribs, purchased you name it, diapers, for her so that she can get by. Even when she was in an abusive relationship with her kid's father. I supported her all through that, going to court with her. And the thing was, um, every time she would move away from this person, and I would support her and give her money and help her with the children and take her shopping and put food on the table for her, she would go return back to him, which just really upset me. I had taken her on family vacations with her children and, at my expense, really nice vacations. I paid for everything. Um, she would call me at least once or maybe every other week for money, um, for formula or diapers. And I couldn't say no. And that was part of me that I understand now. Um, that for some reason I felt responsible for taking care of her and her children, even though it really at this point was not my responsibility. I also even had paid for her cell phone bill for many years. probably 4 years. Let me see. Yeah, about 4 years. Maybe not that long. Maybe it was like 2 years, 2 or 3 years. I had paid for her cell phone bill. She needed a new phone. I bought the new phone. It was a really stressful relationship, but I endured it because I thought I had to. And I think that's the mistake many of us make is we think that we have to endure or to continue to take the abuse that's given to us by family members or friends or romantic relationships, and not realizing that really we can walk away at any time. See if there's anything else I want to say about that at this point. Going back to some other aspects during this time. So now I'm talking about July of 2021, that I'm in my second year of my journey. And I just went through this breakup with the person who I thought was my twin flame, this person I was so attached to. And it just felt so right. And they were also very spiritual. And I know we give the word karmic a bad name because we say a lot of these readings you may hear is that the karmic came back and took your person away from you. But understand too that a karmic could be anyone who you've had previous relationships with in previous lives, and something needed to be resolved in this lifetime with that person. If it wasn't resolved, if it wasn't back up, if there wasn't to be a resolution. So for instance, with this person who I had this romantic relationship with, who I assumed was my twin flame, this so-called karmic coming back wasn't about me, it was about him and his need to work something out with this person, whatever it may be in their past lifetime. But it was also for me to know that I needed to move on from this situation to find what was for my highest and best good on my journey. And that was to end. Okay. So this family member, I also say, is a karmic relationship for me because of how bad it was for so many years. And because it was a family member, I assumed that I had to hold on to this relationship. I always had to make it right. I had to suffer through whatever this person put me through and keep going back and keep going back. And because I accepted the bad behavior until I was ready to change that was going to continue. And like I said, in this lifetime, I needed to work out, I needed to resolve the issues that her and I had in past lifetimes, in this lifetime, so that I could continue to ascend. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. At this point in time, after that breakup of that relationship, I went into a deep, dark night of the soul, right? Yeah, night of the soul, dark night of the soul, right? And I couldn't, and I also talk about spiritual paralysis where you're being held in place so that you can work through whatever it is, this situation, this relationship, until you work through that, and then you'll be released. but because I wouldn't accept that this relationship should be over at this point, that I should hold on to this relationship since it was a family member that was being held in place. Okay. Um, so went into a really dark place. Was continuing to help her with her children. And really my life was more of every day of just kind of getting up, really studying a lot of more spiritual aspects, researching, digging deep, trying to understand as much as possible where I was, like what was going on. Um, like, how did I get to this part where, my father had said so many good things were going to come into my life and things were going to be changed, but I didn't understand that if that was to be so, why am I in such a dark place right now? That went through what was throughout the end of, for the next 6 months, to the end of 2021, I was kind of still in this dark place. Um, the beginning of 2022, I just thought of something too. I remember a weekend that I had stayed with my so-called twin flame in New York, and my family member, which I'm calling Stacy, had called me or texted me or something like that, asking me for money. And I had told her, like, I really don't have um, money. I was working at the time, but it was the weekend, and I really didn't have any more to give her. And I didn't find out till later that she had allowed her kid's father to come back that weekend that I was gone. And they got into a huge argument, and the police ended up coming. And I guess if he was supposed to give her money or whatever, he didn't give it to her. So now she didn't have any money. Um, but now, again, jumping to that was the beginning of 2020. And I thought I was going to move back to New York and be with him, and everything was going to be resolved. I remember even saying to him, I knew I was supposed to go eventually to New Hampshire, Maine border, right? Like my father had said for me to go. And I had asked him, I said, would you be willing to move like to New Hampshire, Maine with me? And he said to me, he says, I'll go anywhere that you go. And I was like, oh my goodness, like this is the person, this is him. Anyway, um, now coming to the beginning of 2022, which is a very pivotal year. It comes to now me being almost to that halfway point of my journey. And her children's father was staying there now for a couple of weeks. And I was just at my wit's end because I did not care for this person whatsoever. And it's like you can see the dark side of someone. And one night they got into a huge argument. And even though I was helping to take care of the children, he looked at me as if I was a piece of nothing. And everything I had done for those kids and for her, and now that I was there, um, I overheard him calling me like your mother. Oops. Well, I just told you who it was. Um, she's a bum. And that like cut me to the core because I'm like, he has who I truly am. Spiritually, he doesn't understand this process that I'm going through. Didn't want to admit to that. I don't admit to it because I don't view that person as that family member because of the continued abuse that she put me through. And that she was accepting of his treatment of me also. Anyway, um, he ended up calling the police on her. Police came, I'm sorry, she called the police thinking that he was going to get arrested. And when the police came in, he lied and said that she hit him, and which I'm not sure about because I was in the other room. And anyway, the police ends up arresting her. So now I'm stuck in the house, and he was drunk at the time, and I'm fearful for my life because I don't want to be in the house with him. He made threats against me, and anyway, he went and passed out. The kids were asleep, and I was just sitting there shaking. And a couple hours later, she came home. But I was at the point, oh, I know. He had come to me and he says, like, I don't understand why you're even here because she hates you. And that cut me like so much to the core. And it was kind of like that realization and awakening that this person who I've taken care of for so long, and even though now she's helping to take care of me in a way, and who I've done so much for, um, and I understand the reasoning behind it. I don't want to go on for too long. I'll talk more about it in the next video. But that just like really cut me to the core. And I knew at that point that that relationship needed to end, that this person who I had cared about for so long was not the person who I thought they were to me. Okay, I'm going to end it there. Thank you for listening. I'll speak more about this in the next video. Please like, share, and subscribe. Okay.